Out in the South China Sea, something absolutely massive has been built. We're talking about a project so big, it has literally redrawn the map. Today, we're going to break down the story behind China's Great Wall of Sand. It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, right? But that's the core question here. How on earth do you build a permanent, fortified island where before there was nothing but open ocean and a coral reef hidden beneath the waves? And the before and after is just staggering. What were once fragile underwater ecosystems are now hardened, fully operational military bases. So let's get right into how they pulled this off. Okay, so to get this, we have to go back to the Spratly Islands. For, centuries, these were just submerged reefs, mostly left alone. But then, in late 2013, this massive engineering fleet shows up with a mission that was going to change the region forever. And the mission? Well, it was as bold as it gets. To build islands where there weren't any before. To literally manufacture brand new territory right out of the ocean floor. So, the big question, how did they actually do it? This is where we get into the incredible engineering at the heart of this whole thing. Let's look at the actual tools and the techniques they used to make land out of thin air. Or, water. The absolute star of the show is this machine, the cutter suction dredger. Now, this is not just some boat. Think of it as a leviathan, a sea monster of modern engineering designed to do one thing: chew up the seabed. The whole process is really just a marvel of brute force. First, you have this huge rotating cutter head that just grinds up the seabed. Coral, rock, sand, everything. Then, these enormous pumps suck all of that mixture, that slurry, into a web of floating pipelines. And finally, that slurry is just blasted out to create the new land. And this last part, it has a surprisingly beautiful name for such a messy industrial process. They call it rainbowing. It's the technique of shooting that slurry of sand and water up into the air in high arc. And as it falls, it builds up ton by ton until this dark mound of new earth finally breaks through the surface of the ocean. Okay, but creating a giant pile of wet sand is one thing. Making sure it doesn't just wash away in the next big storm, that's a whole other challenge. So let's see how they forge this loose sand into something that could actually last. And this is absolutely the crucial point. A pile of sand, no matter how big, is just no match for the open ocean. It simply can't stand up to the power of giant waves, especially during typhoon season. It had to be reinforced big time. The solution was basically to armor the islands. They started by laying down these thick layers of gravel, then poured millions of tons of concrete that they mixed right there on site. And most critically, they use these massive interlocking concrete blocks called tetrapods. You might have seen these before. They're designed to just break up and absorb the energy of incoming waves. The goal here was crystal clear. It wasn't just about building land. It was about creating, and I quote, a fortress against the typhoons of the South China Sea. They were building something meant to endure no matter what nature threw at it. So once the islands were secure against Mother Nature, the project's real purpose started to take shape, turning these new sandbanks into what defense analysts have called unsinkable aircraft carriers. Take Fiery Cross Reef, for example. They built a 3-kilometer runway there. Now, to put that into perspective, that is long enough to land any aircraft in the Chinese military's arsenal, from their biggest cargo planes to their most advanced fighter jets. This isn't some small airstrip. This is a major strategic asset. And it goes way beyond just a runway. We're talking about the whole package. Reinforced aircraft hangars, hardened shelters for missiles, advanced radar domes, deep water ports big enough for naval fleets. These are basically self-sustaining forward operating bases with their own power grids, water desalination plants, and barracks for thousands of troops. So, when you add all this construction up, what's the result? Well, it's nothing less than a complete shift in the geopolitical landscape in one of the most critical waterways in the entire world. In total, we're looking at over 3,200 acres of new strategic land that was literally manufactured from the seafloor. That is an area larger than a lot of major international airports, created completely from scratch. So this is the new reality on the map. You have 3 main island fortresses, Fiery Cross, Subi, and Mischief Reefs, and they now form what experts are calling a strategic triangle. Each one is a major military base, and together they create this interlocking zone of control right over one of the busiest shipping lanes on the planet, cementing territorial claims in the region. And this quote from defense analysts really says it all. They're not just islands anymore. For all practical purposes, they are unsinkable aircraft carriers. And what that means is a permanent ability to project air and sea power deep into the South China Sea, which, yes, forever alters the strategic landscape. The result is just undeniable. It is a permanent footprint of human engineering that has been stamped onto the ocean. A territorial claim that's been built not with words or lines on a map, but with millions and millions of tons of sand and concrete. And that, of course, brings us right back to its incredible nickname, the Great Wall of Sand, a name that really captures not just the mind-blowing scale of the construction, but its permanent strategic purpose, forever standing guard out there in the ocean.